All right, here we are, Impact and Influence Radio, right here on Opera, and today's broadcast is brought to you by Blinds of Sacramento, Sacramento's complete solution window covering experts. Give them a call, 916-790-8689 or blindsofsacramento.com. Now today, we've got a lovely lady in here, Niki Bell. She's working with investors, and she's the person that helps facilitate these deals, it looks like. So we're going to be learning a little bit about her and what she's doing for the business community. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So I want to thank you for coming on. I'm really curious to see what you're all about and what you're doing. So I think before we really dig in who is Niki Bell?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Quinn. I really appreciate it. And I love going on these talks because it gives me more of a chance to say what's going on in the community, not only locally, not only nationally, but internationally. That's kind of how I started. But this year I'm going more local. Mm-hmm. And what I'm finding out and what I deal with is that people don't really know these topics. They know it from, the typical things. Okay, mm-hmm. So if you talk about investments, they're like, okay. So you're talking about rates, you're talking about yields, you're talking about my financial advisor or my wealth manager. And what I do is a little bit different. I talk about strategy for the investors. So I started off in startups, right? And startups weren't paying. But I was cleaning up startups' PowerPoints, and back then it was like the proposals. I've been doing it 17 years. Mm-hmm. And so I was cleaning it up, and the investors were like, wait a minute, why don't you come work for us on our side? Come on our side. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, but I didn't have a guide. I didn't have, anyone guiding me, mentoring me, anything. I had to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And when I did, I just started to run with it. And that is looking for risk, okay, when an investor is investing in a project. Later on, I would say around COVID time, in between COVID and now, it became more about innovation. And even with innovation, that's problematic because it's a trend word. Nobody really knows what it is. If you do a Google search, right, any kind of a search, you come up with different meanings. Business innovation, tech innovation, mm-hmm. but nothing really that defines it. And so that's led to a couple of things. It's led to research and development, my boots on the ground, mm-hmm. where I interview local companies to see how they're implementing innovation. And then it led to not just only the research and development, but it led to me opening my own fund. Mm-hmm. And so that's been really quite the journey, really spectacular, and I'm very excited about it because then I'll be able to fund some of these companies and founders and entrepreneurs with my fund.
Now, tell me a little bit deeper about what it is that you do.
Okay, so a little bit deeper. So, back in the day, like I was saying, working with investors, and back then it was really great because they would just call. They would just call you and say, hey, I've got this project, could you look at it? Give me some suggestions. And so I knew I had my own template. I knew what to look for to see if they were going to get their return on investment, to see if it was worth investing in, to see how much money they were going to lose. And now it's more like with this whole innovation thing, which is my passion. It's really telling the investor, okay, is this project, does it really spell innovation mm-hmm. long term? Mm-hmm. So like if Elon Musk, if he needed the money, came to an investor and he was talking about his humanoid that he came up with, half robot, half human, I would sit there and I would say with the investor, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at his layout. Let's look at his deck. Let's look at his financials. Let's look at how he's going to get this out there and if it's going to be profitable. Mm-hmm. Here are the risks that are involved in investing in that. Is our society even ready for that?
So are you more of a consultant? Is that what you are?
Yes, I am a strategic mm-hmm. consultant. Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so.
Now, where does your passion come into this? You said you've been doing this 17 years. Yeah. Where did this come from? You just one day you said, I'm going to do this?
Well, it came from, I used to oversee, I would say about 200 corporations, organizations as a political strategist. So I'm used to bringing people together, mm-hmm. stakeholders, so on and so forth on a state level. And then when I came to California, I thought, I don't want to do that because a lot of people I was dealing with was organizations, nonprofits. I said, I don't want to do that. And I don't want to just be corporate. I want to do something different. And then about 17 years ago, I got introduced to startups, some of the angel networks. And I thought, oh, that's great. And so I got to see what they were doing. Their proposals, what they were putting together, their blueprints, things of that sort. So I'm agnostic because I've seen so much in different industries. Mm-hmm. And to me, having that template, they're all the same, mm-hmm. right? They're pretty much the same. You've got to have your basic stuff.
Yeah, I say that about business too. And
right.
People are like, yeah, but you don't know my industry. It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
You're just trying to put asses in seats, and how long can you keep them there? That's all
Right.
you're doing. So what types of clients are you looking for?
So the type of clients that I go for is investors mainly, but investors that are angel, venture capitalists, private equity, buy and sell, family offices I've dealt with, high net worth, wealthy families, that sort of thing.
And so you're going to these networking events. That's where we met. Is it a New Wins event? You're going to these networking events. What are you trying to get out of these events?
So the networking events locally is more for that local plug.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, hey, either we partner together, so I've got wealth managers that are going to do a webinar together, and just educate. The value is just education. Some of that is interviewing them. So there was one meeting, not our meeting, but there was a print company, but they were connected to some of the big health institutions. So I'm like, ooh, what are you doing in terms of innovation? And I thought they would skip that question, but no, they were able to answer it. We're doing this with our print, we're doing something different, it's unique. Can't remember what he said because that's not my industry. But I thought, oh, that's interesting. There are some people, no matter what level you might think they're on, that understand what innovation is. It's new, it's unique, it's futuristic. It might mainstream the process, whatever it is, they're implementing it, and that's important.
So somebody comes to you and they're thinking about growing their business, or they're taking their business to the next level. Where do you come in, and what are you looking for?
I'm looking for me particularly because we're in a time where we are living for the future. We're looking at 2030, we're looking at 2050. So I'm like, okay, so you're building homes, but what are you doing different? Is the energy different? I don't mean solar. I don't mean you're going from gas to carbon. What is different about what you're doing? Are you using nuclear stimuli? What are you doing that's different? That's where my personal passion is. And then investors, they'll get these projects and say they have 10, and they'll say, look at this. Well, there's going to be about 5 that are good, that are just your regular kind of I need money sort of thing. And there might be the other 5 where it's really talking about innovation. That's why they're calling me. So Niki, looking at the definition of how you define innovation, are any of these innovative? And what do I need to look for? Because there's a lot of risk. Innovation is a market that it's not really a market yet. There's not really a market for innovation yet. It's all over the map.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Now, you said you were doing some stuff with Silicon Valley. Talk to me about this.
Okay, so I'm building my own innovation fund, which is inspired by me, not just working with investors, but me being an investor myself, and being able to fund, certain companies and projects and founders and entrepreneurs, which I'm really passionate about. People don't understand that I work for the underdog. By making the investor accountable without letting him know he's really accountable, right? They kind of lead in this area, right? Because they got the capital. But I'm working for the underdog and saying, okay, investor, we don't know what you're thinking. Let's come up with some due diligence. Here's the risk, here's the mistakes. What are you expecting? And then we put it down, right? Document-wise, and we sign off on it. And getting to that point where you can close deals is really important. So I'm very much a deal maker. But it's to have that support. So for me personally, I don't come from a background of support. So every single year, every single time I heard, well, if you're a startup or you're a founder, if you need investments, go and get it from family and friends, right? Go and get it from people that you know. But what if you don't have that support? What if you don't have that ecosystem? Some say ecosystem. What if you don't have that? Where are you going to get that kind of funding? You've been in your garage for 5 years, you're ready to go, you're ready to scale, but there's no support. So right now it's building that ecosystem. It's really getting out there and saying, hey, let's bring that here actually to Sacramento. I've asked to be, and this isn't confirmed yet, so fingers crossed, but I've asked to be the inspirational speaker for a biotech conference that's happening September 16th at Aggie Square. And I'm really excited about it. So, and hopefully I get that confirmation, but that's going to be phenomenal because I come from a background where I didn't have the support, I didn't have the mentorship, I didn't have the guidance. I just had to get in there and go for it no matter what. So never give up.
Now, how many companies have you worked with, and really, and who are you working with currently, if we can even discuss that?
Yeah, so I can give like a general. So I have about 10 investors that I'm working with, and they're kind of spread out. So a few local, national, and international. And how people see money is really different when you go internationally. Every country or nation sees it differently. And then for companies, I've worked with plenty over the years. So I don't really disclose because I'm still like stipulated to, those non-disclosures. But I've worked with a lot, and they're all in different scales,
Very interesting. Nikki Bell, 916-670-8038, 916-670-8038. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, just like everything isn't about money. Everything isn't about a title. Money is energy, period. Money doesn't care about your title, your educational background, your licenses, or anything. And actually, for me, being a strategist, I'm not required to have any of that. I'm required to strategize. I can look at any situation because my skills are transferable and say, okay, what's the strategy behind this? It can be anything, right? Sacramento, we have what's called a homeless population that's ridiculous. We are the first in the nation, okay, to have such a huge homeless population. This goes against San Francisco, LA, New York. We're like the first. So what's the strategy behind that? What are we doing? When we get these federal dollars, where's it going? Things like that. So everything I see with my optic eye is strategy. And that's why people come to me like, okay, so I have this business set up. But it's like, okay, how did you set up? You want to scale, but your setup has 5 partners. Hello, where is the room for the investor to come in? The investor pretty much comes in like a partner, even if they are a silent investor and not going to tell you what to do. So just these basic things are some of the things that I look at. And then sometimes on the local level, while I'm talking to small businesses and I'm talking to certain companies, even here locally, I'm thinking about the mindset. And I'm seeing where they're coming from. And it's very, very interesting because small business is the backbone of our nation, right? And the mindset of a small business is everything. So sometimes it becomes a strategy session for like that first whatever, part of that session is, let's say half hour. The next half hour is like empowerment, whether it's male or female. It's like, I empower you to do A, B, and C. I empower you to actually have your name on the contract. You'd be surprised, I empower you to do this or do that. And it's because I can understand the backdrop of their story. Like I said, I fight for the underdog. But, the people that pay me are my investors. So
very interesting. 916-670-8038, 916-670-8038. Nikki Bell, hey, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.